And for most internet service providers, it is zero. Practically zero. If you had sign up another additional user, it will not cost you anything. 1 million to 1 million one will not cost you anything. So you can afford to give it free. Where those premium users, maybe you put 5%, they will more than cover your whole cost. That's what cloud has done. And that's what is changing the whole economics of software. Software is sold in typically three ways. One is that you have a sales person with product and all that, who will go to the CIO and tell that this is my software, this will do all this for you. And typically that software license will cost in the range of $10,000 because you have to pay the salary of the salesperson and you have to support that whole venture of selling it. Typically SAP and things like that fall in that category. Then you have the second category of like Microsoft Office, which is a box kept in an office in a retail outlet. That costs about $200 because that is not sold by a person. You go and see one and pick up, or you still have to occupy this shelf space. There is some commission to be paid to the person who is distributing it. And then you have the premium, which is in the cloud. It doesn't cost you anything to add one more additional user. So this whole economics is moving down from 10,000 to 200 to premium. And you will obviously see many of the business which is trying to do that disappear. That's the transformation of that. So in a nutshell, cloud does these three things. And it's not easy to comprehend the power of long tail, the power of private crowdsourcing, and power of premium. Think about it. And this brings us to the next thing. A cloud service has become more useful when more people use it. What's the fun in using WhatsApp if your friend is not there? Same thing with Facebook. So more user is added to that, it becomes more powerful. So having considered all this, where does it leave us? How many of you owned a printer before you have used it one in your office? Nobody, right? How many of you owned a smartphone before office allowed you to use it? Practically all of you, right? So printer was 80s, 90s technology. Smartphone is this millennium technology. Somewhere what has happened is that earlier technology used to start with defense in government. Most of the technology innovation has actually happened during either World War I and World War II. And then space research and things like that. And then slowly it goes to enterprise and it's to come to us consumers. Somewhere along the line, partly because of the cloud and internet, the whole thing has got reversed. We use the technology first, and then the enterprise wake up. Oh, that new technology is there. Why my application is not running on iPad? Right? So this has got reversed. And that's called the consumerization of technology. And what's the impact for a CIO? As a CIO, earlier I could say that, okay, I'm not going to adopt Windows 8 because I have to do too much change. I have adopted only after 3 years. But if you have a consumer-facing application, and when Android becomes popular, can the CIO say that, no, my application will not run in Android for next 3 years? You can't say that, right? You have lost control over technology. You can't say that this technology I'll adopt now and this I'll adopt after 3 years. As a CIO, you are now driven by your users, especially the end consumers. And all this has happened because you are providing the service to the cloud. If you heard of this company, it's a car rental company who doesn't own a single car. What do? They have a site where the drivers can register and download an application. And where as a user you can register and download an application. And all they do is allow you to see which are the drivers nearby, book it, and they earn a commission. Payment and all that is done. It's one of the hottest startup in US. And this is throwing many of the established taxi service providers out of here. That's transformation. So, as an enterprise, looking for that 5% improvement by migrating to cloud, you can do it, but that's not the thing. There's a likelihood that the whole enterprise might get disrupted because of some new business model which comes up in the cloud by some startup like Udayan. And then you'll be wondering, like Kodak is wondering today, what happened to my business? Gone. All eaten away by the digital product. You could wait for that time, or you could actively look for what is the disruption that's going to happen, that's going to impact my industry. Or you could cause that change and look for what is the thing that I can do so that I can be the prime actor. It so happens that MIT did a survey some time back. They have published a list of 10 cities which are the hub of innovation and venture capital. And guess what? Any of you heard of that survey? Bangalore is in that list. Yes. As far as the innovation and venture capital thing is concerned, Bangalore is among the top 10 cities in the world. So you're lucky to be in Bangalore. You're lucky to have technologies coming up like cloud. So you can put two and two together and see what I am trying to say. So in a nutshell, what I am saying is that cloud has transformational impact. Today we are going out of the organizational boundary. The interaction is happening between individuals, between different organizations, not in the same way where every organization draws a clear boundary of who is employed, who is not, and trying to hold everything inside. No, that boundary is going away. In cloud, there are many people who try to do things, but most of the time, in one category, there is only one winner. Yes? No? Yes? Facebook, only one Facebook. Because more user you have, the more powerful it becomes. For somebody to totally disrupt WhatsApp and come up, they have to come with something, a totally different model. Don't underestimate the power of long tail, power of crowdsourcing, and power of premium. Try to understand what it means. It is significantly different from what you have, what you think. And this is not very, it's counterintuitive. What you would feel as intuitively you want to do, it's not so. And crowd is transformation, it's not incremental. That's about what I have to say. I can take questions here.
I think he skips the slide about the larger enterprises. Like what is the transformation or what is going to happen?
The answer is here actually. As a large enterprise, if you are looking for, should I migrate this application from here to cloud or not? You can do it, maybe you cannot do it, may not do it. Not going to make much of a difference. But the question you should be asking is there a competitor who is going to come up, like Uber, who will totally disrupt what I am doing? The question you should be asking is that, can I come up with some such model which will disrupt my competitor? And that's where the power of cloud is.
Okay. The question in addition to that is, I work for Ericsson, and we are trying to do things like ECS, they call it Ericsson Cloud Servicing and Cloud Management and all that. So we are trying to think of an operator who can use anything that they want, a billing system or whatever, through a cloud as a service. So they are actually going towards that. What I'm trying to understand is, at this moment, at this larger space, are there any other players who are providing these kind of services, not necessarily a telecom, in a banking or somewhere else?
2 days back, I was attending a CII conference where SAP made a very interesting presentation. They are building a solution for the rural, small retailers, small kirana shop that we call it, touch-based system, which requires very little education to actually operate, connected to their cloud services, where you can use it for full point of sale. And they're selling it for 5,000 rupees. Disruptive, right? Possibly, they will make their money collecting all the intelligence through the analytics, through some other channel. People are trying so many different disruptive things. Not everybody will succeed. If 100 people try, one will succeed. But that success will be, as you say in cloud, any success becomes big.
Hi, I'm Milan from Genpact. Most of our customers, tier 1 customers based in US, currently use one of those big 4 or 5 technology providers for the reporting solutions. And each of them really costs $1 million to implement, take more than a year or two to get the implementation done. In recent times, I've seen in the US market, cloud providers providing the same solution for $150,000. So coming back to your question on a B2B scenario, what is stopping the big companies, the technology providers, companies to adopt? Because I'm sure they are fairly conversant with the cloud technology, so why are they adopting and providing a low-cost solution to customers?
You're running an organization with a direct sales force. You cannot service the customer where your cost of license is less than $10,000. Right? Because of your whole infrastructure of how you sell. Irrespective of what it takes to develop the software, you can't service the customer for 10,000 is a number, maybe 5,000, 2,000. You need a large number. So, with an existing company, if you have to change your total business model, you can't simply do it. That's probably what is. Even Microsoft. You think Microsoft can't provide an iPad solution for Office for $5? They can obviously do it. But then if they do it, what happens to the rest of the business line?
Oh, we have to wrap up this one because we have the other session is already done. So thanks lots for the wonderful session. We have a small memento for you. Next we have Mr. Tarun Krishnamurthy, who is Senior Director of Engineering at McAfee. And he will be delivering his talk on
section of Tarun. Tarun is the Senior Director of Engineering at McAfee, and he is heading engineering of products in the data center unit, focusing on optimized security on desktops and servers, single sign-on context-aware authentication and authorization, and building a big data analytics solution around real-time intelligence of McAfee's product performance and usage in the field of Tarun is also a founding member of McAfee India since 2002, and he has been instrumental in the setup and establishment of the center, maturing it to one that innovates, engineers, and supports nearly all of McAfee's products. He has pioneered several engineering and process practice across multiple engineering centers, built a few version 1.0 products, and headed India site operations. Prior to McAfee, Tarun has worked in the US and Australia with Berlin, and in India with Aztec Software and Sun Microsystems. Tarun holds a BE degree from Bangalore University and MS degree from University of South Dakota, USA, both of them in computer science, and an executive certificate in international management from Stanford University and National University of Singapore. With that note, over to you, Tarun. And this topic is security in data centers and cloud.
So,
Just bear with us for
I think in the morning session you've heard a fair amount of the expansion to the cloud and private cloud, public cloud. And like we were referring in the morning, the challenges are not going to be very different, but they are on a different scale. As you do in traditional IT, what are the challenges you face? You have to bring different technologies together. You have to probably look at other ways of looking at monitoring applications and security and network all together cohesively. So those kinds of things, right? So let us, so I'm going to leave this a little more like an open end. We'll talk a little through some of the challenges, some of the technologies. I'll also play a video of the work that we have done. It's put together by an engineering team, and we'll look at what the couple of solutions that we have built, right, for some of the challenges. Also, there's a session by a colleague of mine, Shekhar. He's going to go a little deeper into how McAfee and Intel have brought hardware and secure software together to solve some security challenges.
Tarun, the session by Shekhar will immediately follow yours.
Oh, great,
We are
wonderful.
recording it, so it will be a continuity.
That will be here itself?
Here itself.
Okay, wonderful. Okay. Again, we referred to some of the challenges and on the IT engineer side, right? What does IT care about? Their business says, I want things to be available, I want things to be performing, I want the integrity to be maintained. If it's data, I put some data, I should get that same data back, for example, right? And performance, I want it in real time, I want it in certain expected time durations and things like that, right? So CIO, not that they don't care about these things, they care about it. Obviously, the organization also reports to them, but their thought process is a little more around the cost around it. Can I scale? How soon can I make infrastructure available? Things like that. And with the advent of the cloud and the private data center and things like that that are catching on, like Udayan was mentioning, with the reversal of consumerization of IT, a lot of things are happening because of users. And if that is happening, how is IT able to catch up? So they are just saying, look, people are using applications in the cloud. How can we make sure it's secure? I don't, it's not that we can put controls and locks and keys and say, you can't use. And those are also the days, right? Corporate provided equipment that had lockdown hardware, software, you can't do things. Now, I mean, that even cannot be thought of today, right? And people are bringing their phones, they have started using email. It's only later on that IT thought of how can I make sure the the email is going through securely and there's a password, etc. They start from very fundamental. So that catch-up game is true, but CIO is supposed to be a little more strategic, thinking ahead. So that is where the challenge is, right? So obviously, all this is an aspect of cost. How do we ensure that we are reducing and optimizing costs? So this is a picture that we'll come back to a few times. So just want to, let's build it out fully. So I think many of you understand the infrastructure as service. That's what is provided by the cloud, is the compute, network, and the storage. Right? That's the base hardware that you will get. And then above that, you'll get specific web servers, application servers, and things like that. So that is the workloads that you'll see. That's the platform as a service. Above that are those specific applications, and those could be your Salesforce.com, all the cloud applications that you are seeing around, right? It could be success factors, anything that enterprises use. So enterprises will have typically, one other thing that we talked about this morning is that you are not in an isolated environment. You can't have these, I'll shut my doors and windows and everything, only applications that are in my environment can work, be used, right? You have got an ecosystem. As a provider, you have your HR systems, you've got finance systems, you've got procurement, supply chain management, the sales aspects of it. So you're in a complete ecosystem. There is a provider, business to business ecosystem that's there. So there are certain people who are providing things in their centers, certain things that they may be you are providing in the cloud, and certain things that you are providing here. So there is data going all over the place. So you need to look at how applications are behaving, how secure those applications are. Now, so we'll go into each of these aspects, what the security challenges are also. One other thing is that has shifted is, it's okay to have security on your appliances, devices, and all that, right? But finally, what matters to you? What matters to you is the data, and who is accessing it, and are they authorized to access it, and are they accessing it in a secure manner? And addition to that is, where are they accessing it from? That is the new dimension now. If you are in my office network, you can probably get a few more things. If you're on a corporate device but connecting from home somewhere, if you're on a VPN, I'll give you some things. If you're not even on those and you're on a private network, they'll probably let you do some email, maybe let you do some approvals, etc. But probably not let you do whole purchase approvals and things like that. It could be, right? Then finally, it is also, if you look at a little more dramatic here, if, for example, there are defense drawings, etc., and yes, you have it on your laptop, but you're traveling to a country that's not so friendly, you are authorized to see it, but given the context that you're in a probably unsafe territory, I'll not let you open it, right? That kind of thing. So look at it from a national security perspective. Yes, we are willing to sacrifice your life, not the data. And it's true. We are laughing at it, but that is the reality. If your spy is caught in another country, so be it, right? You're lost, but it's a national security that matters. So that is the context-aware identity. And identity is not just about you as an individual. It's about the device you're coming from, the network you're coming from, and the applications that are doing. There are several things that are happening without your knowing. Your phones are updating, your television is updating stuff, downloading stuff. It's not necessarily you doing things, right? So yes, it is important to pinpoint an individual to that device and to the behavior, but it is very hard to correlate that in the paradigm shift that's happening with the cloud, because things are updating, things are reaching out, applications could be vulnerable. So all those things are challenges. So to do that, you need something like of a correlation challenge. How do you make sense of all this? You're seeing threats in some finance company, you're seeing threats in some healthcare, you're seeing it only in certain geographies, seeing it only on certain platforms, and you're seeing it only on certain platforms with certain applications. All these kind of things, how do you make sense of it? So it becomes a little bit of a big data problem. So that's the other convergence we are seeing from a security angle. Security postures are, if you are going to automate all these things, because imagine in the cloud, you're talking tens of thousands of servers, if not more. It's no longer about your 10 machines or 500 machines that you had in your infrastructure, which you probably could do things, with a force of 10 people, go around to each machine and solve something. But that is a dimensional shift. So you need automated correlation and alert mechanisms and things like that. So we'll try and fill those gaps. This is another slide that is kind of relating to things that people have already mentioned, so I'll probably skip through. It was like, today it was all private data centers, then there was a little bit of provisioning, etc. that's happening with the public cloud. I'll use the Salesforce, I'll use some success factors, but I'll probably keep all my core assets in-house, right? So, but that is also changing with enterprises are looking at, I will have my core applications, etc., the ones that matter to me most. I will keep it in-house, more control, etc. But when there are resource ups and downs, the peaks and troughs as we refer to, you need to get new infrastructure, which is where the public cloud is coming into the picture. You get additional resource and bandwidth from the outside. So that's where the cloud is becoming seamless, which we are calling today as a hybrid. So private, public, coexisting, some applications here, some applications there, sometimes running here, sometimes running there. What does it matter? What does it mean to us? It means that you want the same behavior, you want the same security posture, same security policies across, which means you need whatever you're applying here, rules and regulations, guidelines, and enforcement needs to happen in the cloud, which means there needs to be a seamless sync of your security posture. So which means that it's just getting that much more complex. Let's try and simplify our approach, right? What are we trying to say? Yes, you've got all this tons of infrastructure running all over the place, you've got all the applications. What does it mean? At a minimum, I need to know what is where. So that is like asset management in a way, but it is like getting all that assets discovered, and particularly with some of the tools that we are talking about that Amazon, VMware, etc. they provide. You don't even know some of the machines and processes that are running unless, the original traditional technology used to be that if I have my own component there, a security component on each of those machines, then I know because they're pinging me back and telling me that I'm here, this is my security posture, this is the behavior I'm seeing on each of these machines. That is also shifting, right? You don't have these components all over the place. So which means that you need different ways of these agentless technologies. How do we discover all these machines first of all? If you don't see what you have, you can't manage it. So the second one is what I mentioned about being security becoming seamless as well. Then the third is about data. So how do I manage data? So the other thing that we tell in security is that you need this layered approach. You close the gate, you close the door, you close the windows, and you have the alarms, cameras, etc. Then finally, whatever you value most, you keep it in the vault, or maybe take it to the cloud, which is the bag, right, locker system. So protect sensitive data. So that is what we talk about. Then next is in the cloud, machines, etc. are no longer manually provisioned. Not they're all auto provision, auto decommission, deprovisioning as they say it, right? So machines come and go, and they come in for a fraction of a second because the resource peaks and troughs are so dynamic. The idea is to stay with that trend. You bring up that many machines, take it down after that. Because for every minute, I think, I don't know what the billing for Amazon, for example, is, but every instance that's up, you pay for it. So the longer you're up, the more you're paying. So the idea is to be as optimized on that as well, just in time. So when that is happening, and machines are going up and down in real time, how do you make sure that the machine came up in a trusted way? Right? That's the other aspect. So you can't take hours together and say, I brought up a machine, but I'm running these tests. I want to make sure that this is exactly how it's supposed to be. Don't have the time. So some of the challenges that just highlight, we mentioned a little bit, physical data center, you had everything here, then you have put certain things in the cloud, then you are coexisting with other companies in the cloud. So that means on a given hardware, your application, your processes could be running alongside other companies, right? And there are several assurances that the cloud providers give you, and there are certain things you can say, look, I cannot coexist with certain X companies' data or processing for whatever reason you may have. But if you do coexist, you need to make sure